Good evening, everyone. New and old, young and old, and everyone old who's feeling very old with Everton results at this moment.
I thought you meant us, young and old. Okay, never mind.
No. Thank you. As some of you might have noticed, we have a new face with us. This is Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
Chris is an avid Evertonian, and he's joining us for this pre-match preview of Brentford. I'm going to get in there and do all the admin beforehand, Chris. You might sound a little bit pre-prepared, but everyone, thanks for joining us. Good evening. Like, subscribe, comment, all this kind of stuff. Click the little bell, join us. And if you're really excited and you're just here to see Amy, she is in the wings and will give us a wave when she's ready to join us.
Late as usual. Can't fix them. No, I'm kidding. Just joking.
Yeah. Well, I see we've got a few impatient fans here. Danny J's like, get it live. Famous timekeeping as always. Absolutely. Finally. Good to have you, Pete and Danny. Evening, Everton. And Pete's already said, welcome, Chris. Welcome
Thanks,
to the channel.
Pete. Hope I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to
it. So we have someone's waiting for Amy already.
Kevin, I've seen Kevin. That is Amy's biggest fan, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. There we go. And Nikki's always on. She is a true fan. Now, give us a wave, Amy. We are now to be joined by the wonderful, the beautiful. Hey. Hello, Amy.
Hi. Oh, we're trying the new technology. Can we all hear me?
We can hear you, but you're about as blurry as, well.
I know that camera's... Ryan's not going to be happy with that camera. I'll tell you that for free.
That's all right. Right, we're already having some questions.
It's my fault we're late as well. I'm sorry.
So you know what? Before we get too far, you just had a question off Chris, off Dave there, Chris.
Oh, a special place in Liverpool. No, I am from the States. I do get over to Liverpool for about 3 months out of the year, usually on 2 trips of about 5 or 6 weeks each. But I am originally from Louisiana in the States, lived all over the country. I currently reside in Texas. I consider Liverpool a second home. I've got family and friends all around, Waterloo, Bootle, Brighton, Les Sands, McGull. No family in the world, but I know a lot of people there. So, yeah.
And I did meet Chris. Very kindly. I didn't have any money. It wasn't orchestrated. I didn't have any cash money, and went in the Royal Oak on the corner of Spellow Lane. Chris very kindly bought me a pint, and he was in there, and he got involved in the protest. Definitely an Evertonian. You got into it. Did you say because of the very famous Tim Howard?
Yeah, no, that's what got it going a long time ago. You know, in America, the national team usually comes first. That's how a lot of fans get into it. And so back then, Tim Howard, Landon Donovan, they both played for Everton. Started off very casual. You know, I'll watch it if it's on TV, whatnot. Obviously, things change over the years when you start going overseas. You start getting more into it, learning about the history, meeting new people, things like that. You know, dated a Scouser for a little while as well, so that obviously got me properly trained as well. And now I go home and away and all this. So it's evolved into quite a life of, well, some call it torture and misery, especially the last couple seasons. But obviously we're hoping for the best and hoping it turns around.
Yeah. Well, with that, you're put under the spotlight. We are going to be grilling you.
Sure. Open book. I'm ready.
Excellent. So, as some of you might have, Amy, you're already getting some compliments there, but I would say it's a compliment, but I don't know whether it's really, football related. Yeah, let's start off. Some of you might not have seen that today, this afternoon, 1:30, Sean Dyche was eating a bowl of rocks and responding to questions from the press. Did you guys manage to catch any of that, or shall I just run you through it?
No, I saw it. I even wrote notes. I have come prepared this week. I know.
Excellent.
Can we go?
Notes page. Go ahead.
Look at how long that is.
Look at this. I love it. I need to catch up on the presser, so you guys go ahead with that, and I will react accordingly.
Excellent. So, I mean, we'll cover these sort of injuries and suspensions and stuff. Leave that till the end, Ames, because we'll talk about that'll nice little segue into lineup tactics, yada yada yada. But essentially, what we can do is talk about, well, Sean Dyche is very much a realist. He was asked a question about Keane, Richarlison, and Gordon. about what change can he affect at the moment at Everton, and it seems to be very much, well, the past has gone before me, so it's kind of beside the point. He thinks there's a good group of players there, that recruitment doesn't always work, and there seems to be a hint that when he was talking about market value and that you either pay it or you don't, and the market doesn't really care anymore for shared value. I mean, do you think that's a comment on the sale value of Moise Kean or the Gordon going, or do you think there's something there? There's a hint on his response to what fans have been saying about us not getting anyone, or maybe pinching pennies of thousands here and there on wages, and not like Denzel Dumfries was going for 15 and we offered 12 and didn't get him.
Yeah, in my note when he wrote that, I just wrote the word skint. I think we can't keep up with the market value right now of players, and obviously, like, a lot of them are. You look at some players who are going for some money, and you think, where is that price tag come from at all? But if you can't keep up with the prices that are now demanded in modern day football, because so many clubs have these ultra billionaire owners, then there's going to be a problem where you fall down on that mark, and that's where we do. So we can be talking about overinflation, but also the fact we can't keep up with the overinflation as well, which is half an issue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what we'd have to pay, but everything Everton's always already chipped in and said Richarlison isn't happy, bring him home.
True.
Yeah. Would you be happy to have him back? Do you blame him for going?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we'd pay part of the wage bill, especially given, I don't know if anybody saw the interview he gave yesterday, which, I mean, it's not to say he's frustrated is obviously an understatement. It's weird to see what's happened at Spurs, because you thought, even that they had plenty of assets, don't get me wrong, but Richarlison is a special kind of asset that you thought they'd just find a place for. I feel like, at least even on a higher timeshare basis, if you like, and that's not what's happened so far. And it is a little bit surprising, especially given his, success in a couple of the Champions League fixtures. Obviously last night, it feels like if they were chasing a goal, that's someone they should have brought on, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah. It's more like, he's Brazil's number 9. So you'd think he'd be number 1 on the wall, at least one of the first few on the team sheet. Absolutely. But I mean, Dyche seems to think that there's a good group of players here. He was talking about, being tight defensively and not necessarily loose in attack, but having the players to the ability to read the game and game management and know when it's right to push forward. Because you don't always win. Well, you win by getting everything right, and you can't build on luck, is what he said. And I think Richarlison, for example, is one of those players that brought us luck. Dyche was talking about getting that winning mentality, getting that sort of fight for everything, the relentless mentality, I think he said at the end, where anything is achievable and you keep fighting until the last minute. And I think certainly in my poetry, and certainly when we've been watching, there has been more signs that even if we go a goal down, that we can get our heads down. 2 goals is hard to come back when you're not winning many games. But when we're a goal down, it seems like there's still something there, or at least there's the chance of something growing. I don't know what you feel. 6 games in under Dyche.
Go ahead, Amy.
I think. Oh, go on, Chris. I don't want to interrupt you. I don't.
Oh no. I was just my thoughts were I kind of got the opposite vibe. For me, when I've seen what I've seen under Dyche is that when they do concede, it's almost like that's it. It's almost like the air has been let out of the team. And every single match you've seen when they concede, we've almost conceded again in the next 2 to 3 minutes. And that's especially worrying, and especially was against Forest, because quite frankly, we almost lost that game right after we conceded that second goal. Yeah. And that's just I mean, again, I'd like to think it wasn't like the game was absolutely right. It wasn't like the game was absolutely over when you go a goal down, but it's just one of those where it's just kind of, you get this feeling like, here we go again. And it proved right against Villa, and proved, it's just, it worries me, put it that way, when we concede first. And it's almost like, if that were to happen, if we don't find an early goal, you really worry about how the squad's going to react.
I mean, do you think come the summer, it was asked the question about forward options in the summer, which, he said we're overloaded in certain areas, which we have been for a couple of years. But striking options, we need to have something up there. But do you think it's right to say that we've got a good group of players here? Is he just trying to protect himself? As somebody said before, he's very careful with the words he's using in the press. But he said Gray has got some experience as a striker. There's an open-mindedness and a change. But he immediately referenced Mopé working hard. So I think it's quite clear that we can't rely on Gray up front. or we can't rely on the expectation to see Gray up front. And I suppose it begs the question of DCL, doesn't it? DCL.
It's the question every week, isn't it? Go ahead, Amy. I'll let you have this one.
It is the consistent question every week, but obviously they've been picking up on what everyone's been saying about it maybe being a mental health issue, and he shut that one down pretty quick, didn't he? So
yeah,
I think, like we say every week, only having that one solid striking option to rely on is a bit ridiculous, but that's where we come to, then that's where we are. Obviously, we've just got to rely on him to get fit, but he obviously does have issues with his fitness anyway. So if we can't rely on DCL, he does need to look in other areas. And he did seem quite happy with Demarai Gray up front. He seemed relatively impressed by him as far as Sean Dyche and impressed goes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laughing at some of the comments.
I'm blind. I should put my glasses on, but it reflects off the ring light.
Danny J seems to think I'm gorgeous.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Look at that thing. Just absolute fantastic.
I don't know. I've been so stressed watching Everton. I've been pulling it out.
Yeah, I understand.
But I mean, when you say that, you know, the fact that there's been positive signs, as Dyche has said repeatedly, and I think sometimes we see it was difficult at the Emirates and 4 goals. I mean, okay, we could have held them to maybe less. But they're top of the league for a reason. And
sure.
we are...
and you and I were both there, Jan. You saw that it wasn't 4 goals straight away by any means. I mean, we had a couple of odd man rushes the first, 35, 40 minutes, whatever it was. And while, yes, the defensive lapses on the goals are frustrating, don't get me wrong, but it's not like that game was an absolute blowout in the first half. Bang, bang, though. That's what I mean. As soon as you concede, it's almost like they just fall asleep just for a second and bang, 2-0. I don't know, not to slag off one player in particular. Yeah, it was a big mistake on Gay at that point, in my opinion. But it's the whole team mentality of just a tiny, tiny little mistake, just a tiny little lapse in judgment, and then it's in the back of your net again. And so I don't think, for me, sorry, transition back to what you were saying about Dyche, talking about we've got good players here. I have loved almost everything that Dyche has said since he got here. I love that. For me, that's a great motivational tactic in the sense that these players do need a little bit of building up. We are where we are on the table. We can't hide that. There's nothing we can do in terms of signings at the moment. And so you have to these are the players we have. I truly believe that they do have some quality in them. I don't think we're a bottom 3 squad, not pretending we're top 4 by any means, but I just think that there is quality there. And I like what he's saying. I don't really get why we can't rely on Gray up front, because that was probably the best offensive attacking game I've seen in a long time with him
besides
up front.
The Arsenal game with DCL up front.
Sure, absolutely. The first half, especially against Arsenal, was fantastic. But as far as putting together almost a full match of actual, obviously not the best finishing, because we had a lot more chances than I think a lot of people realize, especially with the Iwobi on the right side. But I liked what I saw against Forest from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned. Won't go over it because I think we talked about quite a bit of Idrissa Gana Gueye. I know you said he was pivotal for that mistake, but I think based on the tactics that we play, when somebody in his position, specifically him, when he makes a mistake, because it's maybe broken down around him, it becomes easy to punish us because he's that pivotal sort of midfield defensive covering linchpin. But you say that, I mean, like, as you say, there's a lot of positives to take from the Forest game. And when he was asked about Doucouré, it wasn't necessarily just that simple mistake, because he was trying to play the right kind of football. As he said in the press conference before the Forest game, I'll be forgiving if the players are attacking and they give the ball or they make a mistake when they're trying to do the right thing. And I think he kind of was doing the right thing. And I don't think it's fair to punish him for trying to play the ball forward, not only just lump it forward, but for someone to run onto. And I can't remember who it was who was up front at that point. But it becomes again about eradicating, as he said, those mistakes, the simple mistakes, which comes from a winning mentality of knowing when to be balanced, when to be sharp, when the tide of the game is going to shift away from that. So, I think there are times when we do get punished. And like you said, you can't rely on luck to win a game, although you take them. Sometimes the better you play, the luckier you get. You know what I mean? It becomes one of those things that, but he's talking about, when he mentioned about every game should be must win, and he talked about his very limited capabilities as a player, which was quite funny. And he said, I didn't know whether I picked up on this too much, was reading into it. He said, you don't give the opposition the chance. You've got to have this must-win mentality, especially when you're limited as a player. Does that mean that he thinks that some of our players are limited footballers?
He's not daft, is he, as a manager? Like, he knows what he's saying. He knows that he's sitting there saying, all right, some of these aren't exactly top 4 footballers and some of them are pretty limited in areas, so learn your limits. And I feel like that's some of the things he says to them in training all the time as well. But he does seem like, when he come in, he said it's about the basics. He seems quite happy with the basics of it all now. It's just ironing out the little issues. And that's one of the things that I said when we're watching it. If he had more time to iron out the issues, maybe we would feel a little more content as fans as well. But he does understand as well the nerves behind us. And he said about the professionalism from him, didn't he? If you are a true professional, you will work off those nerves and you'll allow them nerves to make you want to perform better. And I quite like the way he seems to be setting them all up as a new outfit rather than individuals, because if there's consistent individual errors but the outfit themselves aren't making much of an error generally, then you can work on that obviously individually in training and stuff like that.
He said he's waited too long. As Chris, you say, Dyche is saying the right kind of things, and also he's doing the right kind of things, as you just say, Amy, that he's trying to change the mentality to bring about this positive, relentless mentality to also be more game aware of game management. Jeff's Dyche in November would be easily mid-table, and I think it would be a different story. We'd have built that momentum. So I suppose we start get into the elements of the press conference that look forward a little bit, not necessarily focus on DCL. But I mean, well, I will just touch on this, by the way. We got 5 or 6 yellow cards in that game, and he was asked about it. Do you think there's a breakdown in discipline? I don't know if you guys feel different. I just think that we were a little bit unfair that in the allocation of yellow cards in that there were maybe 1 or 2 that we couldn't have been given or shouldn't have been given. And if we were, then I think that maybe Forest deserved the same or even more.
I agree. And I don't want to
kicking off about the refereeing, to be honest. Like, I don't know if it's Everton fan mentality or anything, but the way I looked at it was the complete opposite. I thought there was some unfair decisions, and the apology for the penalty, which is most definitely going to help us survive relegation as well, says it all on that term as well. Sorry, Chris.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was going to basically say the same thing. I still can't believe that apology is real, that's an actual reason given for not even taking a look at the pen. I still I don't think that's a real thing. And again, you watch that game back over again. I'm not going to say that I'll say maybe 1 or 2 of the decisions could have gone either way, but to say that we had nearly twice as many yellow cards as Forest, given the physical nature of what they were doing, is just inexplicable to say the least. And obviously we're going to face a fine for that unless we already have with the 5 yellows, and obviously they'll carry over as well. It's a mess. But I don't think there's anywhere near a lack of discipline in the squad by any means.
No, not at all. So yeah, looking forward, I mean, Brentford, he was asked about whether Brentford aspire, whether it's somebody to aspire to be like. And I think quite rightly, Dyche said that, no, we don't aspire to be like anyone. And I think what we might have lacked for quite a few years is a unique philosophy. We've been a hodgepodge of managers, a hodgepodge of different players. And it becomes apparent when he talks about Brentford being a long time story, it's kind of the same for us. It's not going to be a quick fix or an overnight thing. But you are starting to see signs of that change that he's brought in. So as you say, that responsibility, the management, the game management. I mean, he's mentioned that he's seen a few youth matches with either Isaac Price, who's played a few games, and we might start seeing, hopefully, it might be nice to think that we might start seeing some more youth players if we're in winning positions coming off the bench. But yeah, so I mean, are you excited for Brentford?
Obviously. I say this every week. I'm never excited. I'm always nervous, but it's Everton nerves. I think Brentford are, like he said, they've worked to be this brilliant side. And as much as we can all have our opinions on whether or not Toney should be playing, which my opinion is that he shouldn't be playing whatsoever right now.
Yeah.
he has
I've just
worked
sorry,
very
I'll just
hard
jump
to
in
get
because
to where.
a lot of people have been saying that in the comments. For people who aren't aware, which if you're living in a rock on the dark side of the moon with your fingers in your ears and you're just completely oblivious to everything going on, Ivan Toney has admitted to multiple counts of betting and other things.
200 multiples.
I'm trying not to fall foul of slander. And just I don't want to get the channel banned off YouTube.
If he's pleaded guilty, it's not slander, I promise.
Yeah. But it just seems ridiculous that if somebody's pled guilty, they've admitted they've done something to an implication or an accusation, then just, yeah.
It's just like if I was at work and I had admitted to guilt towards any of my regulations at work, I would be if I hadn't even admitted guilt, I would be suspended until they proved whether I was guilty or not. If I admitted guilt, I'd be sacked. That's how it works in any other job, and it's still a job, regardless of whether he's a footballer or whether he's a bin man.
Yeah, but notice. I suspect that the decision's going to be made shortly after the Everton game because it.
I said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
they'll let him put a 3 past us, and then they'll ban him.
Yeah, it is frustrating. So many people have mentioned this. Richo said 262 counts. Maka is with me on the cynical front. Watch this ban start on Monday.
Someone's told me they won't even wait till Monday. They'll just say in the dressing room afterwards in the post-match press conference. Just that's it. ban now.
Yeah, and this is it. This is it. It's appalling. Yeah. It's appalling. People have mentioned Toney K. And this is one big tragedy. I actually, I speak with somebody who's very close to Toney K, and by all accounts, from people who've told me, he's a lovely man, and he basically put a bet. He was told to do something, and what the true story is he was told to or asked to put a bet on him with pressure with other people, still put a bet on or didn't do it or something like that, and decided, fuck you, I'm going to play to my best anyway, and won and. Yeah, a lifetime back. It's just appalling, and I feel so sorry for the fella.
He says it all the time as well when he speaks about it, like about he does regret obviously doing it, but he even fixed the match. It was never about match fixing; it was always about betting. And if one offence can do that, I know it was in the 60s, but I don't think the legislation around it, the Premier League legislation, obviously has changed very much in that time. Was it Trippier? Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I know that. Didn't he get banned for a few months for 4 offences? I really feel like it was Trippier. Someone did anyway, like more recently than the 60s.
Joey Barton?
Not Joey Barton. Joey Barton. Did Joey Barton get banned? He did, didn't he?
I don't know. He probably got banned for. I mean, just look at his face. Sorry. Anyway,
he's gotten banned for multiple things. Yeah.
Right. Let's get back on track. I'm sorry. I'm taking it. But yeah, so I suppose that turns us to if Ivan Toney's playing or not playing, or he's always got a bloody hat trick in him, especially against us before. God knows. Yeah, people are saying it was Trippier. But
I know.
Well, will we see Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Well,
no.
Apparently there's all the markers. He might be on the bench, but he's starting in training, and we've got the stats and the markers for his history, and he knows his body more. They'll talk to the medical staff, but he's back training with the team on grass. None of that says yes, he'll be on the team sheet, does it?
It doesn't at all. He might throw him on the bench, but whether he'll get any minutes out of it is pointless. But I don't really know what place he's taken up on the bench anyway. Vinagre, maybe Vinagre will have stay at home. Bless him. He's played about 3 minutes all season.
I'm still shocked Vinagre is on the bench every week. I don't understand the point.
How dreadful must that man be in training, honestly?
At this point, just put a teen on the bench. Get him a few first team minutes, whatever the case. It's better than just having an actual empty slot. I obviously we're all hoping for the best. I really don't think, regardless of what side of the fence you stand on DCL, I don't think anyone wants to see him fail. I don't think anyone actually wants to see him not in the team and performing well, and that's the thing about it. And so at this point, Jan, I spoke with you about this a few weeks ago, but it's, before the Liverpool match, there were sources that came out saying it was going to be about 4 weeks, right? And so that's why I didn't understand why people were so shocked the next week when it was like, okay, well, he's not fit. Well, we knew that already, right? It was almost just like a thing to wind it up. My stance, as I've made clear, is that regardless of what it is, he's not available. That's what I've accepted over the last month. Now, if he's back to training, hopefully he will be available. I'm just kind of banking on the hopefully at this point. It's not a hard stance per se. It's just a matter of we've seen DCL great. We want to see it again. And so now it's just like, we just hope it happens. And so any steps that seem positive, I'm for. Hope to see him on the bench, hope to see him used as a sub late. He did have a goal against Brentford last season. Towards the end of the season, when we lost that match where Brentford gets sent off early. So we're hoping for the best. I hope to see him, but I'm not optimistic, put it that way.
Yeah, okay.
I'm glad you brought up that Brentford match from last season, because that is my goalpost right now. That level of stress is how stressed I am about this game. Like, I was so certain coming off the back of that Chelsea game that we were going to absolutely do him, and it just went to pure Everton. I don't want to use the word, but you know what word I want to use. It crumbled in Everton style is probably a better way to do it. And I just pray we don't do it again.
Well, I wanted to touch on that, especially because I didn't answer the question earlier. Are you nervous about Brentford? Not really, because we've actually played well against Brentford lately. The 1-1 draw earlier this year. Last season at Brentford, we'd lose 1-0. Kind of a dodgy pen, okay. But at Goodison against Brentford, we performed very well. 4-1 in the cup tie.
We've never beaten them, though.
We had not in the league. No. The cup tie, we performed very well against them. 4-1, absolutely dominated the match. Honestly, if Brantthwaite doesn't get sent off early, I think we're on our way to winning that match as well. Coleman own goal, then Richie actually gets a pen while we're down to 10 men. We're up 2-1 at the half, and then just like I was speaking about, we concede 2 goals in 2 minutes. It was almost like it was shell shocked, and all of a sudden you're down 3-2. You have 10 men. Of course, Rondon gets sent off later. You go down to 9, but at that point the match was over anyway. But the point is, when we had the full squad at home against Brentford, we performed well. So I've got a little bit of optimism going into this weekend. And I guess we're just going to kind of hold on to that, because I'm with you in terms of stress level. I'm just trying to find some positives to want to watch the match.
It's always like at least here. Sometimes it goes here. It never goes here.
Yeah, when it comes to Everton, people ask me, it's like, why'd you get up to 100 so quickly? It's like, I'm already at like 80. What are you talking about?
When the team news comes out, we're at 85.
Yeah, because I was just about to say, P. Mac has already said Ericsson ran the show that game. Yeah, and he's no longer playing for them.
Which is another thing about Brentford. Not to harp on Brentford too much, but Ericsson leaves Brentford, and so you just and we know how just vital he was to that squad last season. So Ericsson leaves, and then you think Brentford are going to kind of drop, maybe not into relegation form, but Brentford have just kept on ticking. And I mean, even without Ericsson, with a couple of good signings, they've absolutely done a stellar job and arguably overachieved this season. But I'm not really worried about their, I believe the stat is they haven't been beaten in 11 in the league. Well, Arsenal had only lost 1 at that point when they came to Goodison as well. So I'm not necessarily buying into all of that.
We're not bad at ruining stats like that, to be fair. We always, when we feel like we're not going to do well, is when we do the best in it, I suppose. The last time they got beaten was October 2022, which is also the same time we last won an away game. Sad facts.
Down the Saints.
Oh, God, thanks for that. Excellent. Thanks, Amy. For reminding me. So we're not going to see Townsend, which I don't think, as we keep saying, we're not going to see him for the rest of the season. Do you think we'll see Mikolenko and Patterson?
Thank you.
Hang on, is she?
Appreciate you.
No, it's okay.
I thought she was getting a prop. I thought it was no. I did. So Mikolenko was an illness, correct?
Yeah.
So I think we actually see him back in the lineup only because I love Ben Godfrey as a player, but I didn't really rate him playing the left back position against Forest. No. I think we'll see Mikolenko back in. And I kind of I don't even know what to make of Mikolenko. I've been so up and down on him this season. And it's almost just like you kind of hope he gets this cohesive nature and just kind of does his job. That's what I want from all the Everton players as an individual. Just do your job. Don't try to do too much. And that's why I think. What was the other play? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You said Mikalenko.
Patterson.
Patterson, that's correct. Yeah. Hoping to see Patterson, just because of the actual the grit he brings to the team, the attacking mentality, obviously. But having said that, Coleman hasn't played horribly for us. So if Coleman's back on the right, I'm very okay with that. If you want to start Patterson on the bench and possibly if you need him, bring him on, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So
I said that on one of the very first ones that I did about Coleman, didn't I? That I was always so nervous about him coming in because of the age issue, and he's done brilliantly. Like, there's not been many times he's made a mistake. He's a brilliant servant to our club, that man. He really, really is. I'm always happy to see Nathan Patterson, obviously, but I don't think he's back this game. I think the way he was saying it didn't sound very certain. It sounded like he's still got a couple of matches to go until I think.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I don't know. I don't know whether we'll see Mikalenko because although he trained today, do you think that's enough to see him back on Saturday?
I don't
know. Not if it's illness
if not,
as well, because. Sorry.
Well, the way.
Oh, no, right. Fine. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. The way
it's fitness in it when you're ill.
Yeah, because the way that your immune system fights is it starts degrading muscles. Gross. Yeah. Anyway, do you have any sort of anticipated, expected lineups? Because I don't know. I think mine might have to be. I might have to go with something unchanged from Forest. Well, not unchanged. I'd like to see Mikalenko start. I'd like to see Pickford, obviously, Mikalenko, Tarkowski. I'd give Keane a go, but if Cody's back, he's fair enough. No,
I
don't rate Keane.
I'm not slagging Keane off. I just think that experiment has not worked. I hope. I wish everyone in blue success, Keane included, obviously. But for me, it's just not the best line. I'm with you. I've written one down. I've got Pickford in goal, Mikalenko on the left if he's fit, and if not, I'm honestly not sure what they're going to do. If they have to put Godfrey back, then fine. That wasn't my favorite thing, but just for now, we'll say Mikalenko's back. Tarkowski, I've got Cody back as well. Hoping that a little bit of a couple games rest is giving him kind of a fresh mentality because obviously he was struggling a little bit. I've got Coleman on the right. Go ahead.
Sorry, you've got that's the defense sorted, and I kind of agree with you. If it's needs must as the devil rides, then yeah, if we can't have Mikalenko, then put Godfrey there. But do you think it as everything Everton's literally? I feel like all our viewers are reading my mind this evening. I was about to say, if Keane doesn't work and Cody's not there, do we give if he's tried with Keane, do we give Mina a go? Because it doesn't match about.
I want Mina. No, that's the thing, and I was about to touch on that, but I've accepted now. If there's something we don't know, right? Because Sean Dyche he's not a dumb guy. If Mina is fit, Mina would have been playing for the last 2 or 3 weeks, plain and simple. So there just has to be something that we don't know, and that's okay. I'm not saying we have to know everything, but either it's an attitude thing or a training thing. There is some reason Mina isn't playing, and for that reason, I've not put him in the lineup because I just assume he won't be available again. If he's fully fit, you're reading my mind as well because Mina is absolutely going to be
ever fully fit.
That's a fair point. At least for 15 minutes, for sure.
I think we need to change his name to Yerry Morano Glass.
Yeah, Weetabix legs.
So who do you want to see in midfield? Is it time to bring James Garner in, or do we keep Idrissa Gana Gueye?
So I'm actually for giving Gana Gueye a rest. That was my instinct before I actually started writing this lineup down. Then I looked at the bench, and basically James Garner was one of the only options I had, and I said I don't know if I would necessarily give him a start. I actually kept it the same 5 as we had against Forest. I kept it in a 4-5-1. I've got McNeil on the left with Onana, Gana, and Decore because I thought Decore had a fairly good match. Obviously not Onana's best. And it really hasn't been for a couple. Ever since that early yellow against Villa, Onana's just not been the same player, and I hate to see it because for a long time he was one of the only sparks in terms of creation. But I had been calling for Iwobi to be put on the right side for at least a month now, and they finally did it, and it looked great in terms of him being able to take his space, attack with pace a little bit. and then I have Gray up top because especially against Brentford, they've been beat on a couple of long balls, especially against us. That's how we scored against them with the Gordon goal earlier this year. And I think that Gray could have a lot of balls to run on if you just give him a little bit of space, especially whether it's from McNeil or whoever. So I think this is especially a game where Gray could thrive. So I've got it set up in a 4-5-1. I don't know if they're going to keep that or not, and it wouldn't shock me if Keane plays, and it wouldn't shock me if Mopé was up top either, because Dyche just kind of does whatever he likes with that.
I was going to say though, if we don't see, apparently everything Everton seems to think Onana's carrying a little niggling injury. But I agree with you about the defence, Amy. I'll sort of segue to that, to you, by all means, to give your team in a second. But if that's true that Onana's carrying a bit of an injury and he's off, I'd like to see Iwobi in the middle with Doucouré, because Iwobi's a bit more mobile. Doucouré's more box to box, but he's got that more, he chases every ball, whereas Doucouré's more defensive minded in how he approaches. Even though he's a box-to-box midfielder, but I'd say put Gray on the right and put Mopé up front. Or, my God, everyone's doing it. Richo's doing it now. Put Sims up front. Maybe we're just all on the same page, mate. Although, to be honest, I think it's because we're running out of options for defence and who we're actually going to play. But Amy, would you? What's your thinking on the lineup?
I think I can't believe Chris came prepared with it written down. I just go into the depths of my brain. At one point, I'm going to say Ferguson up top at this point. I just forget who plays for us. It's awful.
Right out.
But I'm saying
just
it's
don't say 5 at the back
and
unchanged.
Sorry,
Chris. It is probably going to be unchanged, isn't it? But personally, I want Cody back in for Keane. David's down there, Cody, fresh legs. That's what I'm saying. Especially if he's had a few weeks off. He seems like that kind of player that will come back and want to prove to you that he does deserve his place in that squad again. So Cody instead of Keane. If Onana is injured, I like the thought of Iwobi coming back into the midfield. He did really well this season. I like that.
I don't think it's time to bring James Garner in.
Sims up front.
Sims up front.
Not just yet. I think give him a little half hour at the end, 20 minutes, something like that, but work him in slowly. We do it all the time where we bring players back from injury and we lash them in straight away and they end up injured again.
Yeah, I've got here. If Onana's got an injury, then I want to see Iwobi brought into the middle and Gray shifted out and Mopé up front. But if not, I want to see Gray up front and then 60-minute Mopé. Take Gray off before he gets bloody knackered, because I think we weren't as quick in making substitutions.
I'm still frustrated about that in terms of the Forest match. The lack of
should have substituted him much earlier.
Driven me insane.
Yeah.
Doucouré's mistake was because he was tired as well.
Yeah, it's doing the natural thing of, okay, I'm gonna go here, hook my foot, but I think it was just a bit of, he didn't create a yard of space. He just imagined the ball would go over the player. But yeah, so well, what do we talk about tactics if those are the lineups and it's sort of bare bones? Do we talk about playing the kind of, because we were playing more attacking, joined up football against Forest. There was very quick give and goes. There was the overlaps and triangles, and somebody being a pivotal player, receiving the ball, passing the ball, receiving it again, flicking it on. It was a lot more joined up play, and I was quite excited to watch it. I thought we could, it was disappointing that Gray didn't score that third goal, to make it 3-1. And I think it would have been a very different game, but then it just hit the foot of the Forest defender. But, do you want to see us attack? Do you want to see us to sit back and control?
I think we need to get off on the front foot. Always. We crumble when we're behind, and like Chris said earlier, that's when we start with the silly mistakes because we're nervous. We need to attack from the get-go and then put all 10 of them on the back line for all I care. Really don't care. I just need to see us get that goal first and maintain that lead, because we can attack all we want and then defend, and we're not a perfect defensive team, but we're not terrible at defending either. And it might be boring and frustrating to watch, but I'd rather be bored for 70 minutes than be on the edge of my seat crying my eyes out because we're 3-0 down after 30. So, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. I
Just a sad image. Yeah.
It's a consistent image. I sit
Right.
everywhere around Goodison Park, and everyone knows me as that bird that cries.
Are you going the game, Amy?
Yeah, up at Bullens, so I'm going to shout down to you. I'm going to be like, Jan, Jan.
Yeah, you will hear me. I shout bloody loud.
We'll shout and sing.
I take it, Chris, you won't be traveling the thousands of miles to watch us.
No, not for this one. We had to get back. I actually had a ticket for this one, but there was just a few things I had to get back home and take care of this time around. But planning another trip here in a few weeks, provided that we get some things here sorted. And obviously, I'll keep everyone updated on that. But like I said, I'm maybe it's just that hopeful optimism that I have before every match. Because if you ask me before an Everton match day, if we're going to win or lose, we're never going to drop points. And so I think that this is a little bit no different, with a little bit of added caveat that we have played well against Brentford.
Is that the over the pond optimism? I think that's the massive difference between our cousins over there and us over here. We are like so unoptimistic. We hate it. We're like, no, that's it. We're getting done 6-0, and you're like, oh no, it's gonna be fine. Everything's okay. And I think that's a welcome addition. Do you have a favourite song, Chris?
A favorite song?
A favourite chant? I'll chant it all game for you. Why you couldn't make it on your ticket?
As far as an Everton song, you mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not belting out like Mariah
I
Carey.
was on the Spirit of the Blues bandwagon before Spirit of the Blues became cool again. A few years ago. So as far as the in-game songs, I don't know. That might be it. But I'd have to pick from a few of them, because we obviously go through the whole list when we're there. But no, it's
we'll for you all game.
Sing the Nathan Patterson song. Sing that one, and maybe we'll get him back in the squad.
Yes, that's my favorite one.
So it seems a little bit redundant to ask this, because I think I know what the head says. What the heart says is different, but what the head says for me every game, I'm thinking, well, I hope we can score and we don't succeed. And I'm sort of predicting 1-0 every game at the moment. But have you guys got any score predictions?
Well, we scored 2 whole goals finally. After all my time on this channel, I've been begging for it, and we did it. So I'm going to say, no, I'm still going to say 1-0. No, they're going to score. They're going to have to score.
I'll stick with
2-1 or 2-2.
Yeah, I'll stick with 2-1, because I don't trust us not to concede. I can fully see a Toney pen just to get the Goodison crowd riled up. And hopefully we have a goal in there before that, and I think we get one somewhat late. I say 2-1 to the Blues. Okay,
Kevin agrees with you. Peter Duggan, who's a regular here, but I think he's lost all hope.
He's just had enough.
He's going 9-0 to Brentford. That's sort of the anti, yeah. Okay. Everything Everton reckons 1-1. Mr. Blue Skies is going for 3-1. Gray, Godfrey, and McNeil. Godfrey.
I like it. Hey, Holgate scored last season against them. You never know. Don't put it past Ben Godfrey. He's got one at him. It's been a while.
Yeah. The Blues says, Hart says 1-0 win. Same as me. Well, the head says, yeah. I don't know.
If we go down 2-0 to Brentford, good night.
No, honestly, and what I was going to say is Ian Clark here has gone with what I really want to see. I want to see some positivity, and I would love to see Mopé score.
It is. I have seen it with my eyes. It is possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a good goal, to be fair.
It was.
Got you a little bit optimistic about the end, then just, can't find the net again. But I'm with you. Again, can't stress enough. When you're on a plane, you don't want the pilot to crash the plane, right? When you go to this effort, you don't want the boys to fail. Every one of us wants Mopé to succeed. Every one of us wants DCL to succeed, and the rest of the squad and all that. So obviously, we're still hoping it happens, but not exactly optimistic.
No, I'm going to go for I'm going to go all out there, daft. And if Onana plays, I think he might get a header or something at a corner. But then again, so could Tarkowski. But I'm going to go for McNeil and Mopé.
He predicted it last week, and he predicted the way they would score. Trust the man.
No, that was you. Or was it me?
Was that me?
I think it was you. That's why I tagged you in the tweet, Amy.
What's in that mug, anyway?
It was you. I've been telling everyone you're psychic. I'm psychic. No way. Okay, I'm saying 2-1 Brentford. So you don't want to know.
Right,
No,
that's the end.
2-1
Thanks for
Everton,
joining us on
obviously.
Follow Everton. Goodbye.
So it's gonna be 1-0 and it's gonna be a Wobie.
A Wobie? Shades in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one
Having
ties
minutes
himself
into
to a
added
goalpost
time.
this season, but you never know, I guess.
It'll
Well,
be
if
me
you
if
want
we
to
go
fly
on
over
it,
last
though.
minute, Chris, we can arrange something, get you on there and change the goalpost.
That's they'll never see it coming.
I mean, Nicky would be happy with a 1-1.
I
but
can't be happy with a
I
draw here.
can't do another
No.
draw, Nick. I can't do it. You saw me last week. I was devastated. You should have seen me sat in my room. I was unapproachable. It was awful.
And obviously, some of that,
need
obviously
3 points.
depends on the way that the game has gone. I mean, you look at the Forest game at home earlier this season. It was a late gray equalizer. Obviously, for the first 75 minutes, you say, how is this still 0-0? But after we concede, at least we did respond. So, I mean, yeah, of course, we're down 1-0 late. I'll take a draw. But there's just no reason you should be drawing Brentford at home. There just isn't. We have the quality to beat this team. And again, call it over the pond optimism, call it whatever you like. I really think we're going to perform well this weekend.
As somebody's just said, they don't know if they'll see Mope starting. Addy. Oh, hi, Addy. Can't see Mope starting. Hey, look, there's still 90 minutes of football. If Gray comes off for the last half an hour and we get a 60-minute Mope special, come on. Scores the second goal.
One of my mates absolutely loves him. Like, he reckons he's going to save our whole season with these last 11 games he's got to do for us if he doesn't start against Brentford.
But that's the more frustrating thing. Mope's time was last game, in my opinion, especially with all the the winding up that was being done at the Forest match. Gray is looking over at the bench on 62 minutes, just dragging. He's just so tired. It's there for the taking. Goodness, it was though. He really ran himself into the ground, and fair play to him. But he wasn't the only one, and I can't for the life of me figure out what happened. And we wait till the 89th minute to sub on Mope, and it drove me insane. It was there for the taking, and that was absolutely when Mope should have come on, and I would have taken a half hour and a heartbeat from him because I think he would have done fine.
Yeah, well, Addy's gone really optimistic and gone for 3-0. Everything Everton reckons Sims over Mope, which would favour the long ball if he can get a bit more patient. That whole take a breath, be a bit more cultured and cultivated as a player. But then again, he's only young, but equally it will only come from first team experience. So, but then when, we're desperate, we need points, we need goals. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'll be there. I'll be loud. I'll be, somewhat proud.
I'll be jealous.
Yeah, I'll take lots of pictures, or try to, just for
there
you.
We go.
Yeah. But for everyone, thank you. You've seen scrolling across the bottom the usual like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little buzzer to get notifications of every video. We will be doing a preview shortly before kickoff for those of us who are able to do that. I think it will be Jeff. Is that correct, or is he working, Amy? Do you know? Don't know.
I don't know. He's an enigma, is our Jeff. He could pop up at any time. It could be anyone. It's not Ryan.
He's an enigma on the Viagra. Yeah,
anyway.
But yeah, we will all see you. And thanks for joining us Friday night. Let you get back to it. And this is from me, Yandalf, from Amy, and from our wonderful first-time guest, Chris. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you on, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hope to do some more in the future.
And what do we say? No, it's not. It's not a kids program, Avery. What do we say? Bye-bye.
Bye. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will say goodbye to everyone. What if we never speak to him again? Of course, I will say goodbye in the little CBBS round wave that they do, when they're stood there and they're like, goodbye, everyone. And like, bit of niceness, John. It goes far.
What I will say is completely eradicate all that niceness and say, up the fucking toffees.
That's right. In the words of my friend Astro, up them fucking toffees, baby.
Woo! Up the toffees.
Oh, cheers, guys.